if you also had followers in the Global South at all, and if you have anybody at the Cochabamba conference as well.
I don't think so, no. I mean, we have had contact with people in South Africa who've done a study about what the effects on South Africa would be of a global cap and share system. And we've had contacts with people in India. And we've been wanting to develop and look into the global implications of it and explore that. And we're beginning to work with some people who are going to be at the World Conference in Brazil at the end of May. So, yeah, we are beginning to develop those kind of contacts, but I would say we're at a fairly early stage in that process.
Brian, I'm wondering, there's a certain redistribution of assets going on here through this cap and share idea. And just if you can clarify, now if I'm an American, is the pot of money that gets redistributed, is that a pot of money that's paid into within each country and then redistributed to all the people of that country? Or is it a global redistribution? I guess what I'm getting at here is, would someone in America be able to make an argument that says this is just an opportunity to take my hard-earned dollars and send it overseas?
Well, America's a problem. And the reason America's a problem is that whereas in general around the world, you can say as a generality, people with a low income have low carbon lifestyles. In America, that's not the case. In America, even people on a low income have a high carbon lifestyle. So if you were to have a global system where you had one system, as it were, administered by one global climate trust, shall we say, there would be a problem that people in America on a low income would be ending up paying out still quite a lot of money and not getting very much back from a global system. So there are certainly issues there to be sorted out. But I have to say that is a problem in all, in whatever arrangement you make to try and find some equitable solution to climate change and climate mitigation. You run up against this problem of the high carbon intensity of American lifestyles, including the high carbon intensity of low income lifestyles in America. Now, what we do about that is a major thing which you know, as an international movement, we've got to discuss.
And are there solutions for that? Because it seems to me that if you can't solve that problem, you're going to probably end up with a global system that leaves out the United States, that the United States doesn't buy into. And can you really have a solution that doesn't include the United States?
Well, I'm not sure about that. I think we do need to try and move towards a global system, and we do need to try and find a way of dealing with this problem. But I don't think this is a problem exclusively to the cap and share problem. You see, with cap and share is a principal way of organising the reduction of fossil fuels. You can, in principle, have a cap and share system for the United States, for Britain, for India, and they're all different. Or you can have a global cap and share system, if you follow what I mean. The principle of reducing of doing an upstream cap and reducing the amount of fossil fuels that you let in the economy, and doing that in a fair way by make sure that the revenue goes back to the population, can either be administered at a national level or at an international level. I would ideally like to see it done at an international level, but as I say, if you do that, you immediately run up against this state. And I'm not sure what the solution to that is, to be honest with you. But as I say, it is a problem with every single scheme. Every single scheme you could design, you would run up against that problem.
Absolutely, all those sort of CNC, contraction and convergence, all those kinds of things, always run up against the fact that that some people have to drop so much, and they're the people at the moment who are benefiting and are the least likely to want to give it up.
The way in which we've thought about it is ideally you would have rich countries would pair with, obviously, I mean, you have to find transitional ways of getting to a global system. And probably the ideal way would be if a rich countries team up with poor countries and make some arrangement between themselves. Because if you don't do that, if what you do is you just start off in the rich countries and you don't have the poor countries involved, then what happens when you include the poor countries is that you have this massive reduction in the amount of permit revenue that people in the rich countries get. So the sooner you involve the poor countries in the system, the more equitable it is on a global level, and the less of a shock it is, if you like. Mm-hmm. But I mean, as I say, that's the problem in any system. The contraction and convergence is also about dealing with this problem of how do you transition to global equity. The problem with contraction and convergence, as I'm sure probably most people are aware, is that if you leave the convergence process to a long time, then you have global equity, but you have global equity at some point in the future where you've got equal per capita rights for virtually nothing, if you follow what I mean. That the equity is delayed till the point where there's virtually little left to be shared. And there are issues with that as well. So yeah, we do have a massive problem of global equity in this whole problem. I should say that we thought right from the beginning when we were designing cap and share that the idea of per capita shares doesn't completely cover all the issues of equity. So we thought, in that case, we ought to have a major per capita element in it. The bulk is the per capita element, but some of the revenue, carbon revenue, should go into a transition fund, which politicians could negotiate over about other dimensions of fairness and equity. So that was our thinking on that.
But Brian, it just seems to me, and I'm sure there are hundreds of really brilliant economists working out all these numbers, but it seems to me if you had a global pot of money, you could figure out an equation to split that amongst the different countries, perhaps based on current per capita income, and then each country could split that among their own people based on use of fossil fuels, and now you have a national cap and trade scheme in each country that's fair within the country, but all adds up to a global international scheme that sort of caps carbon at a manageable level. What's so difficult about putting that together?
Well, you sell that to poor countries. I mean, the point is that effectively you're saying that what we're talking about here was we're talking about managing the Earth's atmosphere as a common resource of all humanity. And we're starting off by saying it's a common resource of all humanity, except that the people in the rich countries, pardon me, own most of it. That's the implication. Right. And that hardly seems equitable. I can't see the poor countries buying into that idea. Why should they? The issue here is not an issue of rich and poor. I think the rich should pay more for end up paying for carbon because that their rich lifestyle. The issue here is a specific solution for low income, high carbon lifestyles in places like America. So I mean, maybe there are issues that have to be solved in America in regard to that, but the global principle of per capita shares should remain the same. That's one thought on that. But I don't think you can start off by saying that the poor countries should, in principle, get less because we all share the Earth's atmosphere. Why start off with an assumption that the poor countries have less rights to it? I can't.
Well, as the skeptic, I would just put it to you in a very practical sense and say because that's where you have the most possibility of gaining traction in a country like the United States, which you're going to need to bring into this process if it's going to be effective.
Yeah, you get
So
more traction in the United States, but less traction in the poor countries. I mean, that's what stymied climate negotiations all the way through, isn't it? I mean, the basic unfairness of this.